And we're off. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Dolphins spanked the Buffalo Bills. Yep. If you
How
didn't watch
about that? How about that?
if you didn't watch the game, I'm not joking. 30-13, and absolutely amazing stat from courtesy of CBS. First time since 2018 they lost a division game by more than 7 points. And this was an ass kicking. So again, hi everyone. Welcome to the All Dolphins podcast live post-game breakdown of this Week 10 matchup between the Dolphins and the Bills before we get cranking with myself and Dante Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins on SI. My always friendly reminder, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Listen to the podcast wherever you get your audio podcast, and please check out the website for free content at Miami Dolphins on SI.com. Dolphins came in at 2-7. Buffalo came in 6-2. So of course we knew the Dolphins were going to win by 17 points. Did we not, Dante?
This was set up for a letdown game for Buffalo, right? They just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That was a big emotional win. That's the battle for the AFC's 2 Super Bowl contenders. And then you got to go all the way down to South Florida, play against a Dolphins team, just fired the GM, traded a good player at the deadline for a pick, and they came out flat. They were terrible. They weren't good on either side of the ball. They had a ton of injuries as well, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and the Dolphins took advantage of that. They ran it where the Bills had a ton of injuries up front, and they controlled the game for the most part throughout on defense and with the running game, and they beat them in every phase. This game was, frankly, I don't think the score makes it look a little bit closer than it probably should have been at certain points. So really impressive 3-phase win for the Miami Dolphins against a good but injured Buffalo Bills team.
Okay, this is the part where you're going to make some enemies right there when you're kind of making excuses for the Bills. And absolutely, I talked about the letdown factor throughout the week on the All Dolphins podcast. It's only human nature. Buffalo's big game in the regular season, with all due respect, ain't the Dolphins. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's who they played last week. They won, big emotional win, and they come down to Miami. Again, along with the injury, a team that they've beaten 7 straight times, 14 out of 15. And for them to come out flat was not exactly a shocker. Having said that, can't take anything away from how the Dolphins performed.
Absolutely not.
They were great. And every time Buffalo seemed like they were ready to make a little bit of a run, there came the turnover.
Yeah, I mean, the interception in the end zone, right, was the first one. Ifeatu Melifonwu, right place, right time play. No, that was the big one to me. Right, but that was the first big one to me. I know, like the Jack Jones fumble, that was a good play. That was still early in the game. To me, it was the Melifonwu interception, and then it really felt like the tide was starting to turn on Allen's sneak when Brooks came in from behind him and stripped the ball out. To me, that felt like, oh God, here we go again. Here goes Josh Allen gonna put on the superhero cape and end the Dolphins. And Brooks just made an incredible play. And to your point, 3 turnovers in the game, completely opportunistic from the defense, and they did a great job. They deserve all the credit in the world. No excuses there for Buffalo. Miami's defense played out of their mind today for the most part.
Yeah, and they control the line of scrimmage, kind of like the way they did against the Atlanta Falcons, but they completely shut down James Cook. I mean, he had 2 decent runs, but nothing of major consequence. And I think they may have wound up with 2 or 3 sacks, but they also got consistent pressure against Josh Allen, against what is a very good Buffalo offensive line. And that made the difference. And one of the big plays to me, in fact, I'm in the process of writing the 5 biggest plays. One of those for me was the 4th down stop early in the game after the Dolphins took a 7-point lead. And first of all, I was shocked the Bills would not run Josh Allen on a quarterback sneak, and then couldn't find anybody open. Eventually, Tyrell Dotson put some pressure on him, and then he chucks it up the field to Jackson Hawes, even though he's well covered, and props to Minkah Fitzpatrick for the pass breakup. But you look at the players who played well on defense. Is there anybody who play well on defense? Bradley Chubb, to me, had by far his best game of the season. Zach Sealer had a sack. The 2 inside linebackers were very good. Minkah had a very, very good game. I mean, you name it. Jack Jones has a great play on the strip while he's being tackled by Dante Trader. That was a really, really good effort, and it certainly signals Dolphins played hard, and I think they're going to continue to play hard for Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he hasn't really lost the team. They've had some rough efforts this year for sure. I mean, they're 3-7 for a reason, but I don't know that he ever lost this team's attention. They had some games where they came out flat. They had some games where they didn't look particularly well prepared. And I think that that hasn't changed. Those games still happen, but it never felt like he lost this team's attention, right? Like it felt like this team never lost its will per se. It was just, hey, they're not very good right now. And so, but they were able to put it together today. And look, I mean, take advantage of a Buffalo team that overlooked them a bit and made mistakes. That's all you can do, right? If you're the Dolphins, you can't control, how well Buffalo plays to a certain degree, right? Like you come out there and make the plays that you have to make. That's what they did today. And, the lack of shooting themselves in the foot outside of literally the first drive of the game was readily apparent. The two interceptions were punts, whatever. I don't think we need to talk too much about those.
Thank you.
They were what they were. They were punts. I don't care. Moving on. Outside of that, really didn't shoot themselves in the foot much. I think they had like one or two penalties on defense at the start of the third quarter. But like no bad offensive holding penalties in this game off the top of my head. No procedural errors off of the controversial false start on the first drive. No special teams mishaps in this game outside of the missed extra point from Riley Patterson, which like whatever, like they fumbled kickoffs this season. They've allowed kickoffs to score this year. So they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They ran the football well, and the defense was opportunistic. That's the formula for this team. This is not the 2022, 2023 Dolphins. They're not the high-flying team that's going to throw the ball around the yard 40 times and put up 300 yards. It's not who this football team is. Been asking for it all year. This was the best complementary performance of that group and understanding who they are and executing against that. And it got them a win. It got the monkey off their back here in Buffalo. And I think that matters regardless of what the rest of the season looks like. Beating Buffalo matters to this team.
Sure. And now we're back on a little bit of a roller coaster because the last 4 games, it's dog crap against Cleveland, really good performance against Atlanta, dog crap against Baltimore, really good performance against Buffalo. So for the Dolphins to become a decent team by the end of the season, and this is where we get into the discussion of, I know there's certain Dolphin fans who may not appreciate this win because ultimately it's still probably not going to be enough to get them into the playoffs or even into the playoff discussion, but it increases the chance, if it's not already significant, that Mike McDaniel is coming back in 2026. They were going to run it back with him and Tua. And as I've been consistent in predicting, and I'm not going to change anytime soon unless I hear otherwise or I'm told otherwise, Champ Kelly is going to be your interim GM. And for a performance like this is just more, I don't know if ammunition is the right word, but more, another argument in Stephen Ross's preference to run it back, which I think ultimately that's what he would prefer doing.
Yeah, of course, that's what he would prefer doing. And look, I mean, for Mike, how many, I don't want to say this squashes every narrative, right? Because you still lost 7 in a row to Buffalo, right? Like your record against Buffalo is still bad for sure. Your record against winning football teams is still bad. However, with that said, I think this win matters. I think it was, if you're Mike McDaniel coming down the stretch, I don't know that there was a more important singular game for you to make your argument than, hey, look, we beat Buffalo, and this was when we were bad, and we traded a player away at the trade deadline, right? And I don't know that this changes my opinion on what should happen at the end of the season, but ultimately, I don't make the decisions for the Miami Dolphins. Stephen Ross does. And Stephen Ross, through every report that we've read and the limited things that he has said to the media over the years, very much likes Mike McDaniel and very clearly wants Mike McDaniel to be successful. So doesn't change my opinion on Mike McDaniel personally. I'm still in the same boat that I was last week, but Stephen Ross is clearly giving Mike every opportunity possible to continue as the head coach of this football team past this year. And this is about as big of a win as you could get from McDaniel in that vein.
Yep. And it's almost, yeah. And again, yes. Why couldn't the Dolphins do this before? Because they're not good enough to do it before. And this is why. But they're looking at the opportunity based on the opponents to go on a little run here. Again, if they can become close to the type of team they were supposed to be, and that's Washington and New Orleans and the New York Jets over the next 3 games.
Could be 6 and 7.
Could be 6 and 7. And this is where you're going to see the graphics on CBS in the hunt, and the Dolphins will be among those teams. That of course is unless they slip back and play some sloppy football, because the other teams are just not going to give them the wins. And in fact, New Orleans and the Jets won on Sunday. You mentioned the 2 interceptions. I want to bring it up just because I know, again, with Tua, it's always one extreme or the other. I would push back against the idea that he played a tremendous role in the win, even though he had a very nice touchdown pass to Jalen Waddle. And he had, to me, his best throw of the day was like a 25-yard out completion to Jalen Waddle after the touchdown. That to me was his best throw. But he was fine. He was efficient. And the 2 picks, as you mentioned, as I wrote on MiamiDolphinsOnTheSide.com, those were 2 glorified punts. They both came on third down, and they produced, if you look at the yardage, 41 net yards on the first one. So if it's an incomplete pass anyway, what's the difference? You punt on the next one, you get a 41 net. That's solid. The second one, remember, Buffalo got a penalty on the return, wound up being a 54-yard net, which is very good. So no major concern. They weren't crushing interceptions, even though it's going to look bad. Look, he leads the NFL in interceptions. I get it, but we got to look at the game context. We haven't even mentioned Devon Achane yet, but what else is there to say? The guy's a stud, although we should bring up the reports over the weekend involving both him and Jalen Waddle, and those reports both came from an NFL network that the Dolphins were asking for a second-round pick plus for Devon Achane in conversations. And Mike McDaniel made a good point. You have a team that's 2-7 at the time. Teams are going to call to see if you're willing to unload players. So they got certainly a lot of phone calls and about most of their good players. That was the asking price for Achane. And then Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, who would know, reported that the Buffalo Bills offered a first-round pick in 2027 and a third-round pick in 2026 for Waddle, and the Dolphins said no, they wanted the first-round pick in 2026. And I had said all along, to me, it would take a crazy offer for the Dolphins to move him based on his contract production and age. A first and a third is pretty damn good. You don't like trading him to Buffalo, that's for sure, but the fact that they hung on to him tells you this notion that the Dolphins are going to blow it up and be in a complete rebuild, which I think you would like, Dante, if I read you correctly. I'm not so sure it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you can't trade Jalen Waddle to Buffalo. You just can't. Like they would have, unless it was like 3 first-round picks, right? It's just like it's the Laramie Tunsil deal to me. Like, no, you can't. They've been beating you up for years. They own the division, and you're going to trade them arguably your best player? Nah, you can't. I'm sorry. So I'm glad they didn't do that. That was not that I would have been distraught if that happened. Achane, I mostly feel the same way. Don't think that's a player you should be trading. It goes back to what I said a few weeks ago before the deadline. Bad teams are allowed to have good players. You can rebuild and you can retool and you can have top 10 picks and still have a couple of guys on the team who are good. I promise it'll be all right. You can do it. Other teams have done it. The Dolphins can do it. And I think you saw that today, right? Like Waddle makes a really good catch in the end zone on that touchdown. And Maxwell Harrison getting back into the play, like gave him a pretty good push there. And Waddle just stood his ground and made a really good catch. He had the out route catch that you talked about earlier. He had the nice in-breaker that they had to jumpstart that one drive. I think that was the drive they kicked the field goal on, if I'm not mistaken. Really good player. Then Devon Achane, just incredible. He's a really good player. The second he gets in the open field, he's a threat to make one guy miss. And I would like to point out that one of the guys that he did make miss was Jordan Poyer. I wonder if he kept that receipt. Touchdown for Achane there. And then he had the other one where he goes untouched to basically put the game away. It was mostly done, but really put it away on his second touchdown. So I think, to me, like, those are 2 players that you have that you can hold on to and you can build around. You know, like the next version of this team, and I don't want to get too deep into the quarterback conversation, but like whoever's the quarterback in 26 or 27 needs players around him. You can't just have nobody, right? Or you get into what happened to the Dolphins when they drafted Tua. They had nobody, and the conversation was, who's he going to throw the ball to? We can't properly evaluate him. You get into that mess. There's no reason to be in that mess because you have 2 young, good football players on the team unless somebody gives you 3 first-round picks for him. Keep him, and you're still bad. You can still have a top 10 pick. It'll be all right. So good decision, great plays from those guys. I'm fine with it. Like I'm not trading Jalen Waddle to Buffalo.
To me, and I mentioned this because somebody took me to task for not including that in the story I wrote today on Miami Dolphins and SI.com. To me, it's about the Dolphins. And if we're at a point where we're completely blowing it up, I'm not sure that I'm so concerned about who I'm trading it to, even though I understand the point as opposed to what I'm getting. But the bottom line is it's not going to be a full rebuild. And if it's not going to be a full rebuild, it makes no sense to trade away your good players. Now, the complicating issue with Devon Achane, he's eligible for a new contract after the 2025 season. And like I've said many times before, it may be 2 minutes after the final seconds tick off that his agent's on the phone to whoever's the GM at the time, or Brandon Shore, we need to talk. We want an extension. And that's always the case. But again, clearly he's the team MVP in 2025. He is a dynamic playmaker, and he's still young. He's still got some juice. I think obviously, running back's a position where obviously there's a time clock on those guys. They generally don't last as long as other positions, but I think he's still got a lot of juice left. That this guy should absolutely be part of the team's future. Another name. I don't know if you were impressed with as I was with Juju Brents, but damn, that dude looked good.
He did. Really, every time they cut to him, he was in a good spot.
Man, knocking on wood that whatever injury he had that cost him to leave the field is not serious. And then Ethan Bonner on the flip side, if he's cut Monday, I would not be shocked because
I've seen enough.
He was benched after. Correct, he got another chance, and he was benched after the long touchdown where he's got really good coverage. Except, and this drives me nuts, and I understand it's not as easy as just saying do it, but the notion he's playing with his back to the quarterback for like 5 seconds straight while Keon Coleman is continually adjusting. At some point, turn your damn head around. Like seriously.
Yeah, you and I have disagreed on a few of those this year. I'm 110% with you on this one. I mean, Ethan Bonner, he looked like my guy needed a map to find the football on that touchdown. That was rough. To me, like the Ethan Bonner experiment, like that falls into the Tanner Connor experiment bucket. It's time to reshuffle the deck, if you will, push him to the practice squad, whatever. We need to see more of Juju Brents, man. I think Brent showed you a lot of what he can bring to the table from a physicality perspective, his length, his ability to crowd big receivers at the catch point. I think that it should be pointed out that this is a matchup that favors him a ton. Keon Coleman is the type of receiver that you want Juju Brents to kind of handle. I think if you get him into a situation where he's got to cover an outside receiver is a little bit more dynamic with those change of direction skills, I don't know that you're going to be as happy with Juju Brents, but I think he's a player who, look, you're 3-7. You got him on a waiver claim. He's talented. Former second-round pick. Let's see what he's got. Even if he's a CB3, right? He's a backup for you for the next couple of years. To me, that's a huge win off of a waiver claim. I'm very happy about that. I think that's a great pickup. So I thought Brent's played really, really well today. I would love to see him get more reps as we go. I've seen enough of Ethan Bonner through preseason and training camp and regular season football. I know who Ethan Bonner is. Not a bad guy to have on the back end of the roster. Do not need to see him taking reps as long as enough people are healthy to support it.
And another note before we're going to head over to the comments section in the chat. I saw more on that one swing pass of Greg Dulcich in terms of open field running ability than I've seen from Tanner Connor, who, by the way, was re-signed to the practice squad for those not familiar, than I saw from Tanner Connor over the past 4 seasons, which is kind of tells you that's why he's the upgrade and he's on the 53 now and not Tanner Connor.
You know how I feel about Tanner Connor, so yeah.
Another pop out. What else is there to say about this game? I'm trying to think here before we move on to the chat.
I thought we got a good game from Jordan Phillips. I'm a big Jordan Phillips guy, so I'm going to flex that.
Which one?
The good Jordan Phillips, the one on the Dolphins. one on the Dolphins now, not the one on the Dolphins in the past. Thought he did a nice job. That would be like a small note. Had some tough Jalen Wright runs early in this game. Thought that was neat.
Yep.
Getting him involved. The 6-0 line package still cooking. That was a Jalen Waddle touchdown. They went max protect, showed run, threw the ball over the top. So a lot of like little nice things. Your point about Dulcich was also nice. I think he's a potential player that maybe you keep around as a nice little option for you long term. I think he's young enough for it for sure. His problem's just been staying healthy, and same with Juju Brents. So a lot of really nice small notes to kind of go with the big picture of, wow, the Dolphins might have played their most complete game of the season against a really good opponent. And then that's cool, and it's a big win for the team.
We're over 500 people joining us here today. And then if I haven't mentioned it today, Bad Alain, thank you so much for joining us. For those who are now watching, those who are watching, reach out. Get everybody else in here, because I know they're not enthralled by what's going on with the 4:00 games, because it's spank job, including the Washington Commanders, who the Dolphins are facing next Sunday in Spain, getting spanked by the
Lions. 22-3 Detroit, 21-0 LA over San Francisco, and 35-0 Seattle over Arizona. So you should be watching the show, guys. Should be watching the show.
Thank you. Exactly. With Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Amid all this talk that Kyler Murray's played his last down for the Arizona Cardinals, even amid this talk that some are throwing out there that there's going to be a Kyler Murray for Tua trade, not happening. Nor does it make sense for the Dolphins to do it, because Tua is much better than Kyler Murray. And Tua again today was very efficient. But the story, as it was against Atlanta, starts with the defense. I'm not saying it was all the defense. Starts with the defense. Devon Achane had the huge game, although it's fair to say he had 85 yards and 2 touchdowns after the Dolphins recovered the fumble when they were up 16-6 in the final 5 or 6 minutes. Not to take away from, but that was closing more so than really what was winning the game. What won the game is basically the Dolphin offense completely shut down the Buffalo. Sorry, the Dolphin defense completely shut down the Buffalo offense. And the other part of it, on the offense, can we give some respect, props, kudos for the offensive line, considering everybody just likes to do this to it all the time? Props to the offensive line. Am I wrong?
No, no, it's just a funny hand motion. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I thought they did a nice job today on the ground, especially, and then through the air. I didn't see a ton of pressure on Tua. I felt like there was a lot of good pockets. I think Buffalo might have gotten a few pressures, if I'm not mistaken, but nothing high volume. I don't know that we had the patented Jonas Savaianaya whiff.
Yes, there was one.
There was? No, I thought we had it.
All the scrimmage by Deion Walker.
Oh, I must have missed it.
Got around Jonah very, very quickly.
I must have missed it. All right. Well, we'll try again next week. Maybe Spain will be the week.
Maybe, although Spain is the land of Ole, so we don't want to see any Ole blocks in Spain. Okay,
no.
That analogy.
There we go.
Okay, let's tackle the chat, see what the folks have to say around here. I'll set it up here. Oh, this is what's happening over here. Okay. Here we go. Birthday Salami. Thank you very much for the donation, Birthday Salami. So Phillips was the problem. LOL, JK. That's right. I actually put that in a text message. So Jalen Phillips was the problem all along with the defense. Buffalo did play sloppy, but they're called forced fumbles for a reason. Defense came through at critical times. All of that can be true.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. No argument here.
Yeah. And is it a coincidence? Is it, as Mike McDaniel likes to say, causation or correlation that Bradley Chubb played his best game of the year with Jalen Phillips no longer on the roster?
Who's to say?
Exactly. Birthday Salami again. Thank you very much, sir. I know Jake Bailey's having a good season, but Tua is coming for his spot.
I almost tweeted this during the game. I'm not going to lie. So this is a good one, Birthday Salami.
For that one. That deserves some love. That was good. Very good. Mandalorian with the 5 pounds. Thank you very much. Welsh, nice. With my soccer team losing and Wales getting slaughtered in the rugby, I didn't expect the Dolphins to save my sporting weekend. There you go. there you go. I hope that makes you feel good, because I do know there's the section of Dolphin fans, as I said, who are not going to be happy because it hurts their draft position. By the way, the Jets also won, so that hurts their draft position. The Saints won, that hurts their draft position. I think Tennessee now is the only team
with one win.
Yep. One win, and they took a quarterback number 1 overall last year. They're not taking another one this year. Birthday Salami, again, thank you very much for the donation. HN is Alvin Kamara with better speed. You should rebuild, but no way do you trade a cornerstone for a second or third round pick, which is no guarantee. No, absolutely no argument here. Alvin Kamara is a good comp. Marshall Faulk a good comp. I heard somebody say Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if Jonathan Taylor is a good comp. Jonathan Taylor is a little bit more physical than him, but Kamara or Marshall Faulk, guess what? Those two are more than okay.
Yeah, pretty good. Not bad company.
Oh, Matt with a reference to that. Thank you very much, Matt, for the donation. Much appreciated. Some guy named Dante, that would be this dude over here, once said, bad teams are allowed to have good players. I am really glad we kept Waddle instead of dumping him for a second or whatever. Great game by him today. Yeah, the dude's been good.
Yeah, he's a good player. It's the Family Guy meme, right? Like, the first round pick could be anything. It could even be Jalen Waddle. Like, you already have one. Just keep it. You're fine.
Correct. Yep. No argument there. Ian Mason. Ian, thank you very much. You said all week you thought the Bills may have a letdown. Hat tip to you. Still conflicted. Happy we won, but don't want 8 and 9 and McDaniel retain. Ooh, Ian. First of all, thank you very much. Yeah. You may want to brace yourself, because how about 7 and 10 and McDaniel retained?
Ian, look. Just go out, enjoy the win today, enjoy your Sunday, be happy that you're no longer losing 7 straight games to the Bills. And then when you get up tomorrow, you can think about what this means for the future. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy it tonight. And then when I get up in the morning, I'm going to look at the draft order and I'm going to think about Stephen Ross, Mike McDaniel, and I'm not going to be overly happy with how I feel, but it's a good win against Buffalo. So soak it up. At least give yourself the 24 hours. The teams are going to do it. The teams always soak up the win on the day of, and then they get back ready to fight the next day. You should do the same thing. Enjoy the win. It's a big one for the Dolphins. It matters. And what it means for the future, we'll see. The next 3 games will have a lot to say about that.
I would also say, again, like, just brace yourself for the possibility.
Absolutely.
That they're going to run it back.
Yeah, you should always brace for what you don't want to happen.
There you go.
That should always be your first thought. Frankly,
Absolutely.
You'll be much more prepared that way.
William Vivas, thank you very much, sir. What are the chances Wilson re-signs as a backup? I mean, he's the backup quarterback, so there must be a reason for that. There is a reason for that because Mike McDaniel zoned in on him as a guy whose career he felt he could resurrect. The Dolphins signed him to a 1-year, $6 million deal. They created a void year in 2026 to spread out his signing bonus. He's going to count like 3.8 against the cap next year, whether he's on the roster or not. Could they re-sign him? Sure, especially if Mike McDaniel is there. Does it make a difference? Dude hasn't really played. So, yes, there's a chance he could re-sign. I don't know if I necessarily 50-50 maybe. What do you think?
Well, I think if McDaniel's back, right, it's got to be like a pretty decent shot because that was his guy. I would find it hard for a new head coach to come in and keep Zach Wilson. I think if McDaniels retains, Zach probably has a decent shot of coming back. But if it's going to be a new head coach and a new general manager, I don't know that he'll be back. I would think that they would want to pick their own probably quarterback room, period. So that would be my guess. I guess we'll have to see, what ends up happening. But the Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers battle thing, very strange in hindsight. Not that it really ultimately matters a ton. Very, very strange thing that we had to talk about for about a week.
Okay. LFP, thank you very much for the donation. Never try to tank and lose games, only builds a losing attitude. Wins help build the young players' confidence and build the future that way. I can be on board with that.
Well, it's the classic, the head coaches and the players should never try to lose games. Those guys should go out every single week and try to win games. If you're in the front office, you should be realistic about where your team is and make decisions accordingly, right? Like it's the old adage, like front offices tank, players and coaches do not. That to me is the correct way to do it. I think, tanking can mean different things to different people. The literal definition is losing games on purpose. That's not the definition that I would apply to that term. To me, it's understanding where you're at and properly planning for the future. And then you go out and you let the cards fall where they may. Sometimes you are the Cincinnati Bengals and you end up with Joe Burrow, and sometimes you're the Miami Dolphins and you end up with Tua. It happens. That's just the way that it goes. But I don't think you go out there on Sundays and you try to lose games if you're the players and the coaches. Absolutely not.
No, I agree. And for the notion that the Dolphins should have blown it up and traded basically anybody who could have brought you back something, well, it takes another team to make an offer. And again, we don't know what was offered for everybody. And, chances are the idea of if you trade everybody also, and then you're going to ask the rest of your players to play hard, that can get a little dicey. I want to address this comment here. I think that was directed to you. Roasted nuts. So Dolphins beat an injury-plagued team, but yet those same Bills beat the Chiefs last week. Are you kidding me? They didn't beat the Bills because the Bills are injury riddled. They have injury issues. The Dolphins have had injuries on defense as well. But if you don't think there could have been a letdown factor precisely because they beat the Chiefs last week, there could have been a letdown factor. In fact, I think it's pretty clear that this was not optimum Buffalo Bills that we saw.
Yeah, and I think the Dolphins deserve credit for attacking the Bills where they were injured. The Bills had a lot of injuries up front and at linebacker and at slot corner. So what did they do? They ran the ball down their throat for most of the game. And even when it wasn't working, they stuck with it and they hit some big runs at the end of the game to seal it off, to finish the game, to close the game. Early in that first touchdown drive, it was just run for most of the drive. And then Tua capped it off with the touchdown to Malik Washington. So the Dolphins deserve credit for that. It's not taking anything away from Miami to point out that Buffalo was missing like 5 starters on defense or something like that. It is what it is. Teams are injured. You have to play who's there. But it's not like they beat, the best version of the Bills, but frankly, it doesn't matter. It's a win. A win is a win, right?
Correct. Bad take, you don't trade Waddle or HN period. Whoever had a take that they should trade both. We're just reporting what was out there. Darth, get your facts straight. Why don't you guys focus on the big win today? We haven't been doing that?
No, we are. I feel like we've said it's a good win like 100 times.
I know. Andrew's on back. Where is it not showing up over here? Sorry, Andrew. That's my buddy Andrew. Andrew, how is it possible that our D was so amazing with tackling and rarely giving up extra yardage today? So not Dolphins-like. But again, the lack of consistency is what makes them the Dolphins. But what happens, again, is sometimes you are like really inspired, and the Dolphins came to play on this day. And you're right, there were very, very few missed tackles.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see how many there were because I can think of like 3 or 4 off the top of my head, but I don't know if there's more than that. And I feel like Buffalo had a ton. There were a lot of missed Buffalo tackles in this game. It really almost felt like a role reversal of what these defenses have looked like across the past couple of years. So props to the Dolphins. They tackled their butts off today and made a real impact in the game because Buffalo is a team that relies a lot on yak and rack. Because they don't really have a great receiver who can just like go win down the field unless it's Keon Coleman at the pylon versus Ethan Bonner. So you have to tackle against this team. If you tackle against the Bills, it makes their life incredibly difficult. And the Dolphins did that today and it worked. And it almost worked in week 3 too. You kind of saw the inklings of that. Once the defense got settled in that game, that second half, they started to play a lot better. They started to tackle a lot better. They kept James Cook under wraps. They kept the receivers in front of them and tackled on contact. And so they carried that into this game, and it was the difference. It's what made the defense tick and what's kept Buffalo in a bunch of 3 and outs and off the field on 4th down and all that good stuff.
Yep. No, they played really, really well. Matt O, thank you very much, Matt, for the donation. Was this a preview of what the Miami defense could be next year if our D-line was tightened up? Looked like a totally different unit when the line of scrimmage wasn't falling apart. Thanks for the streams. You're very welcome, and thanks for watching. Here's the thing, though. This was, like an A-plus performance by the Dolphins' defensive line. It's all about doing it over and over and over again because everybody can have a really good game. The good teams are the ones who are consistent. Same with quarterbacking, same with everything. And the Dolphins, so far this season, have not shown to be a very consistent team. And I saw somebody else in the comments said McDaniel saved his job today. He didn't if the Dolphins fall apart and this was just a one-off. This game alone is not going to save his job. It's how the Dolphins finish over now the last 7 games. And if they're at least competitive and they're playing hard, this is where, he could be back.
Yeah, and you'd have to think the defensive line will look somewhat different next year too, right? Like Bradley Chubb's probably not going to come back given his contract situation. I don't think Matthew Judon will be back as well. I think the middle of your defensive line has 3 pieces that'll be back in Zach Sealer, Kenneth Grant, and Jordan Phillips, but don't know about Benito Jones. And there are some other players out on the edge who might not be back. I have to think that group looks very different. So I wouldn't draw like too many long-term conclusions about the position group off this game, but insofar as, hey, is this what it looks like to have a team that wins up front, like from a broad picture perspective? Yeah, this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like to not get run through by every running back that you come across, and you keep teams one-dimensional and you kind of force them into places where they don't want to be. Even good teams like the Bills are going to struggle in those spots. It's harder to play football that way. I mean, if the Bills didn't have Josh Allen back there running around like a maniac in the second half, I mean, the Dolphins probably win this game 40-0. Like if it's just like a below average to average quarterback playing, like Josh Allen was just making some insane plays, and he ended up throwing a really bad interception in the end zone anyway, right? But like the Dolphins forced Buffalo into really bad spots today, and that's tough for any team, even the good ones.
Yeah, and you saw the Bills like they looked out of sorts. I mean, it was weird to me on the very first drive after the Dolphins went 3 and out. Buffalo had a 4th and 1, I think from their 35. Maybe I was.
Yeah, they should have went for that. That was total cowardice from Sean McDermott. You absolutely, your quarterback's an alien. He's 6'5", 200 pounds. Just run the tush push. What are we doing? I mean, I'll take it.
Did you say 200 pounds?
He's more than that.
Yeah, it's like 250. It's like 6'5", 250. Yeah, that was weird to me. I thought for sure, okay, they're coming back to tush push time.
Super strange.
Yeah. Noel V1, Noel, how are you, boss? Thank you very much for the donation. Wonder how many fans brought paper bags for the game and didn't get to use them. Nice not seeing the stands empty by the 4th quarter. Actually, there was some emptying of the stands, but it was Buffalo fans who were leaving. They were like, no, enough of that. And then we saw Mitch Trubisky, flip side of what happened to the Dolphins. I think it was against Cleveland where Quinn Ewers came in late in the game. This time, Mitch Trubisky finished out for Josh Allen, which was certainly interesting. Oh, and that's another good comp. But Toby, thank you very much for the donation. Very, very interesting comp. HN modern day Warwick Dunn. Doesn't take big hits, stud. That's before your time, probably. Dante. Warwick Dunn was a very, very good running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and then the Atlanta Falcons, if memory serves. Played at Florida State. And, yeah, a bit on the smaller side, but a tough runner and explosive. Toby, that's an absolutely great call. That deserves this. That's a great call right there. That's just a great call. Let's see what else we got here as we scroll through these. Noel again. Noel, thank you very much, sir, for the donation. Really perplexed by this team. Game to game or quarter to quarter, they can be polar opposites. Who knows what team we'll see next week? So confused. Join the club, my man. Join the club.
I don't know that I'm perplexed by this team. I'm not going to lie. I don't like. To me, like, look, they played really inspired football today. They deserve a ton of credit. I really don't want to be negative, but they're still not good. They came out, and these things happen in division rivalries. We see stuff like this all the time. We see the Saints get up for a game against the Buccaneers. We see, the Ravens will drop a game to the Browns every so often. We see these things happen. It's not that crazy in the division to see an upset like this. That's usually where those upsets happen, is in divisional games, because the teams have so much familiarity with each other. And look, the Dolphins outplayed the Bills today in every phase, and they won, and that's great. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I don't know that I'm confused about who this team is. To me, they are the same team that played really good football today, and that tends to happen across a 18-week season.
Yeah, correct. They're very, very inconsistent, and more often than not this season we've seen them get pushed around and abused on defense, and today wasn't the case, and they were creating turnovers. No. We shall see what they can do moving forward. And Iraqi, $5 Canadian, thank you very much for the donation. Coco Beware was right. I can't believe it. LOL. I bet TD is nothing but humble on the next collective. The next collective, it will be Tuesday evening. TD Fins Talk absolutely will be humble because that's what he's all about. Shah. Then again, because I'm going to push back. Was he really thinking they were going to win, or was he just throwing it out there? I predicted there was going to be kind of a similar game. And I know there's some fans who thought they were going to get blown out. I didn't buy into that. I mentioned the letdown factor a couple of times last week. I certainly didn't think the Dolphins were going to hammer them the way they did. But, hey, so it's going to be one of those. The Dolphins, look back at this game and they'll be like, we didn't do anything this season, but we beat the Buffalo Bills.
There you go.
Ian, thank you very much for the donation. I can't bring it up on here for some reason. Crazy to me that the Fins can win their next 4 to 5 games and be in the hunt at week 18, while the Patriots may need that game for the 1 seed. So sad. Patriots, by the way, for those who were pushing back, poo-pooing their 7-2 record because they hadn't played anybody, while we mentioned they had one at Buffalo. Well, they won at Tampa Bay today. That's a nice win. They're now 8-2, tied for the best record in the AFC, along with the Colts, also at 8-2, and Denver is 8-2. That team's for real, and it's another team the Dolphins are going to have to worry about over the next several years. So.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, let's go back to the. We're going to work in reverse order if they're. Okay, what do we got here? Tracy, looks like D-line's coming around. What took so long getting Brents in the mix?
Well, he didn't spend the offseason with the team, right? So they claimed him off waivers, and so you got to come in, you got to learn the playbook, you got to earn the trust of the coaching staff. That tends to take some time. And then, as much as we would all like to sit here and say, hey, you should play all the young players because you stink, the coaching staff doesn't operate that way. And frankly, they shouldn't, because that would be detrimental to their own job security. So, and you know what? A credit to Rasul Douglas, who's been good this year and does not deserve to have his starting job removed. And so that's why we haven't seen much of Juju Brents. I think it's just a combination of those factors. But look, all you can ask for is for him to get an opportunity. And when he does get that opportunity, to play well. And he did that today. And so we'll see. Maybe they work him into a rotation with Jack Jones. They did that with Ethan Bonner. I think it's a certain point this year. Those guys were like flipping off series, right? And Storm Duck too for a minute before he got hurt the second time. So maybe they do that with Juju. I do think it's important that we see him a bit more this year, just because he could be a part of your future. I don't think Rasul Douglas is. Jack Jones, I think you've seen enough to kind of know what he is and what he is not. I think it's important to see more Juju, but again, I don't know that we necessarily will if Rasul Douglas is healthy, because I have a hard time believing they're going to go away from Rasul. And then so that leaves us with Jack Jones, and they've been willing to rotate him with some other corners. I don't know if Juju's going to be that guy for them. We'll see.
But here's the thing also that fans should always remember is they see them at practice all week. The Dolphin coaches are not going to not play a guy just for the hell of it. Like Zeke Biggers, for example. I know I have had Dolphin fans asking me, like, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? Well, first of all, with all the respect I can muster, he's a rookie 7th-round pick. So he was picked in the 7th round for a reason. If the Dolphins thought he could make a bigger impact for the defensive line than, say, Matthew Butler, you don't think he'd be in there? I'll question personnel moves as much as the next guy. For example, the thing with Jalen Wright, going from having a season-high 9 carries against Atlanta to being a healthy scratch against Baltimore was weird to me, especially when it left you with 2 healthy running backs. And then today he was back, and then he was playing ahead of Ollie Gordon. So that's a little weird to me because it doesn't flow, because Gordon had a really good game against Baltimore, or he did some good things against Baltimore, as I recall, or against Atlanta, sorry. So it's weird, but again, the Dolphin coaches are not making moves just for the hell of it. You know what I'm saying? Today felt good. Could the Dolphins go on a run? Yeah, their schedule dictates that they could go on a run. And even at that, they showed they can beat a good team. And the next really good team they're playing is the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night, December 15th at Acrisure Stadium. Sorry, Heinz Field.
Heinz Field.
You're not going there, right? Heinz
No,
Field.
I'm not calling it that. It's an absurd. It might be my most boomer take. I refuse to call stadiums by their new names if they're bad. I'm not doing it.
If it's a bad name, what if it's
if it's a bad name? I'm not doing it. Ash Crew Stadium. Give me a break. It sounds ridiculous. It's Heinz Field. Enough.
Right, okay.
Bring back the ketchup bottle.
Are we really doing this, by the way? I'm seeing some sort of like Barry saying it was not Tua that beat Buffalo HN and the DB.
The comments are arguing amongst themselves. I don't know that they're arguing with us. There has been a passionate debate, if you will.
Okay, well, let me unpassionate. Tua helped the Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills. It was not Tua who won the game, but he played a role. Yeah, just like when the Dolphins lose, more often than not, they don't lose just because of Tua, but he plays a part in the bad performance. And today he did the go. Goat confirmed. Broward Dolphin says you're goat confirmed.
Well, I like hearing from the people. I like hearing what the people have to say. You guys have some passionate debates in the comments section. We love it. We love all the comments and all that stuff. It's what helps the show grow and interact with you guys. So. Of course, I read the comments. I
do too. I'm looking for ones to put on the screen here. So it's I do read the comments as well. But Chuck, I love you guys.
Thank you, Chuck.
Come on, love you too. Can you do this through Dante, or is it just me? Do you have that ability? Try to do that.
I don't know.
Pops up.
No. Wow.
Okay.
You hate to see it. They only recognize you.
Chuck, did Greer getting fired scare everyone? No.
It might have motivated them, right? It might have been bulletin board material, right, for the week. Hey, our GM just got fired. I don't know. It might have been. I think because McDaniel came out in his press conference and he said they had what did he say? The practice week was a little bit salty, I think is what he said. Or quite honestly, it was a little salty. That's what he said. So I think that's probably in reference to Greer, the trade deadline, and all the rumors about them getting rid of everybody and all that stuff. I think there was a lot of things baked in there, but no, I don't think that Greer's firing scared anyone. I don't know that that's the word I would use.
I agree. LOL, people moaning we're mathematically out of the playoffs like we were ever going.
They're not mathematically out.
Mathematically out of the playoffs.
They're still in there.
Sorry, if you go into the season thinking my team's got no shot, I mean, that's no way to go. Come on, man. Seriously. Mark, we should have beat several teams this year. Maybe next year we go into the second half of the season 7-2 instead of 2-7. Okay, they were 6-3 in 2023, and then it kind of went like this. They were 8-3 in 2022, and then it went like this. But yes, and that's the thing about their record. They're 3-7. They easily could have beat New England in week 2. They had a shot to beat Buffalo in week 3. They easily could have beat Carolina in week 5. They easily could have beat the Chargers in week 6. But good teams find a way to win those games. Bad teams lose those games.
Yeah. I think the two that stick out to me are the New England and the LA one. Like those feel like games that, because like Carolina was beating the crap out of them. Like, yes, of course they could have won that game. I'm not saying that they couldn't, but like, I don't know. I wasn't surprised when they lost that game. I was like a bit surprised that they had 2 chances to beat the Patriots and they didn't. But New England's a lot better than we thought they were as well. So credit to those guys. That's a good football team. They're 8-2 for a reason. And then the Chargers won. I mean, you go up with like 40 seconds left. You expect to win the game, right? So just bad beat. But yeah, I mean, a ton of winnable games this year. I don't know that this team's like, I don't like the phrase like this team's not as bad as their record, because they are. Like they're 3-7. And like you said, good teams find a way to win those games. Good teams don't lose to the Chargers with 40 seconds left. Good teams beat the Patriots and they have 2 chances to go and win the game. Good teams find a way to at least tie the Bills in week 3 and push that game to another possession, another drive, another overtime, whatever it ends up being. Like, so the Dolphins are 3-7. That's their record, but they have more talent probably than most 3-7 teams is the way that I would phrase it, at least. So we'll see what they do over the next 3 weeks. Opportunity to go 3-0. They might be favorites in all 3 of those games. There's a chance. So we'll see.
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah. No, because I know their roster got trashed by a lot of national media analysts in the aftermath of the trade deadline. And I don't know that the roster is as terrible as it's made out to be. I know it's not nearly as good as some folks who were arguing with me that it was before the season started, it was as good as 23, if not better. And I was like, I have no idea what you're watching, but it's not, I don't think it's as bad as some folks may not be. This is a shout out to us. I'm going to put up. Michael, thank you very much. Michael is a very strong supporter of the podcast. You are very much appreciated, my friend. Hi, Alain and Dante. Alan, so you said it, Buffalo let down. Very smart, man. Thanks. My moments. Or as I always like to say, I'm not as dumb as I look. Tua just beat Josh Allen. No. That's silly. Seriously, that's silly.
Oh man.
But go with it if you like it.
Quarterback wins, baby.
By the way, Jay Fiedler has a better career winning percentage with the Dolphins than Tua does. Is anybody going to say that Jay Fiedler was a better quarterback than Tua? No. If you're going to answer no, then please stop with the quarterback one loss record. Joseph, even if they finish 10-7, they won't make the playoffs. That's not true. That's just if you go 10-7, more than likely you do make the playoffs.
It's going to be tough this year, though. I will say 10-7. There might be 10-7 teams that are left off. There are a lot of 5, 6, 7 win teams right now, and there's a few 8-win teams. There might be. We had a 10-7 team miss it last year in the NFC. The Seahawks were 10-7, did not make the playoffs. I would not be surprised if a 10-7 team or two does not make the playoffs in the AFC this year. It's a very, very, very crowded, competitive field. So we'll see. But 10-7 does give you a good chance, theoretically.
Yeah, correct. We shall see. Darth, yes. Juju did get hurt, though, unfortunately. Yes, we may find out.
He ended up returning, though, right? Like, he came back. I thought he came back to the game.
Not in the game. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Could be wrong. Pride 909, thank you very much for the donation. Much appreciated. And I apologize for not. Hold on. I'll put it up here. Here we go. I am so numb. I wasn't even happy about the win. Hard to be a fan for 30 years. It's been a while. But look at the bright side. If you've been a fan for 30 years, that means you did witness the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, because that's been 25.
That's true.
Sorry. Whoops. Somebody says, yes, he returned in the game. Juju.
Yeah, I was pretty confident he got back in there. Because they sat Ethan Bonner down again, and then Jason Marshall came in, and then I think Brents came back in, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I did not notice him, but okay. They lose a tiebreaker to San Diego and Baltimore. Yeah, if they're involved in a tiebreaker directly with those teams, and if it's a 3-team tiebreaker, first of all, it's not San Diego, it's the LA Chargers, and it would have to be all 3 teams involved. Otherwise, head-to-head doesn't apply in a three-team, whatchamacallit thing. So it's not as simple as how you make it sound. Oh my God! No, I'm not engaging the people. If you know me, you will. I will not engage in this absolute foolishness of the quarterback wins the game. So please stop. Mandalorian, thank you very much. Maybe it's because I'm a Brit, but I can't get my head around wanting the team to lose. I'm buzzing after this win. There you go. Very nice. Because there are certain fans. I will answer the question. There are certain fans, and this, I don't know if it's normal human nature or what, who always prefer the unknown. And the fear is the Dolphins win enough games on the stretch of the season that they don't make the playoffs, but it convinces Stephen Ross to run it back again in the hope of something better next year. Whereas Dolphin fans will go ahead and, like this guy over there, where Dolphin fans will look at it and go, we know what we have with this crew. Let's see what we can find somewhere else that's not this particular group. That's why, and so certain fans are like petrified. Again, too many wins, it's going to be, status quo, and they don't want. Okay. Barry Williams needs a bath or a Brett Myth. I have no idea what that means. I don't know if Barry is I don't even know who Barry Williams is. So
me neither.
Pride 909, does Poop have an Expos jersey? I do not. Is that an offer? I do not. I have I counted the other day. Actually, I came up to 6 of these. I have 4 of the
6 of the same hat.
4 of the straight blue, and I have 2 of the pinwheels, the red, white, and blue hats.
How about that?
Right. Chuck Bryan, Pittsburgh or Chargers tonight? I think the Steelers are going to win because the Chargers are down to their 23rd and 24th offensive tackles, and the Steelers might get 28 sacks.
Yeah, I think this feels like a game that Pittsburgh wins, right? Like this sets up very nicely with their pass rush. They have that 3-headed monster going against It's going to be like Jamari Slayer, who's a guard at tackle at one
Trey
side.
Pipkins, it's Trey Pipkins and Austin Deculus.
Oh, they're going back to Deculus? Okay, well, we'll see. That's a bold move. We'll see how it goes.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out.
We'll see how it works out for him against Check's Notes, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith.
Yeah. Dart, that second INT was horrendous. Again, it was 3rd down and 11 or 3rd down and 10. With a penalty, it produced a punt, a net punt of 54 yards.
I think this is a 2 things can be true scenario, right? Like it can be a bad interception objectively, but also not matter that much because it was effectively a punt, right? Like you can look at the throw and be like, man, that ball was up there for so long. I could have run to the store and come back by the time it landed, and also say, hey, it was a punt. Who cares? I think both things are true here to me. I'm not a huge fan of those throws or the decision that, hey, we're just going to throw prayers up. It's a weird narrative that they've had. First, it was the Tyreek Hill against, what was that, the Jets, right? They just threw up a couple prayers to him against the Jets, and they came out and they were like, yeah, we just told him to throw the ball up and hope somebody makes a play. And, I don't know that I love that. Not a huge fan of that strategy, but, didn't really matter in this game. I don't really care the 2 through 2 interceptions. It is what it is. Maybe not a trend, though. We'll see. I'm hoping not a trend. I don't like that idea, but it is what it is.
Chuck says, but we did think Buffalo was going to blow Miami out. No, not here. That's why they play the game any given Sunday. I had 31-20 for Buffalo in my Miami Dolphins on the side.com game preview. I did not think it was going to be a blowout. What do we got here? Phillip Rivers made a career out of throwing jump balls. He did.
So disrespectful, man.
I don't recall that, but okay.
So disrespectful.
What do we got? Eric Storm, Jalen Hurts did not win the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles won. QBs don't win, lose a games team game. Okay, we're back to that kick. No, I'm not getting there. Josh Schmidt, we screamed they need to throw it up last year. All year now he is doing it, and fans are upset. He gave Waddle a chance twice, and we didn't get a call. There was no call to be had. Sorry. In fact,
okay, hold on though, real quick. There's a big difference.
Hold on. I forgot to thank Josh for the donation.
Yes, thank you, Josh. I will say there's a big difference between throwing the ball up in a competitive situation versus throwing the ball up into double coverage on an awful throw. The throws are bad. That's my problem.
Well, they float. I mean, it's
dude, it's like they're beach balls coming out of his hands. Yes. It's bad. It's not good. There's a difference between throwing a one-on-one back shoulder ball, and giving a guy a chance to make a play in that situation versus we're going to throw the ball up into double coverage. We give Cole Bishop 20 years to run under the ball and make a play. There's a difference between, not every jump ball is created equal. And I don't like the idea that we're just throwing it up and praying and these balls are landed into double coverage. Because that was the Starks INT against Baltimore.
But that's what he's going to throw though. He can't, he doesn't have the arm to
Then why are we doing it?
Again, because it's 3rd and long. And then it's, again, if you throw a 3rd and long deep shot, you look at the potential results. It's completion. It could be DPI. It could be incomplete and then you punt, or it could be a interception. And unless the guy is able to get a long return, that serves as a punt. So to me, there are more positive outcomes than negative outputs. I do want to point out one thing though, because somebody else on X during the game was mentioning that they didn't get the call. There's no call to be had. The defender's allowed to play the ball. To me, there were 2 egregious calls as I saw the game, possibly 3, and 1 against each team, that you called it controversial false start and Alec Ingold. I'm going to call it a bad call. He moved laterally, and he's a fullback. He's allowed to do that. And then they called a holding on Logan Brown against Matthew Judon, and you look at the replay, Matthew Judon fell to the ground and Logan Brown just pushed him back to the ground. There was absolutely no foul there, but they kind of looked like an iffy, maybe unsportsmanlike conduct. I think taunting on Bradley Chubb. I don't know if they called it for when he sacked Josh Allen. I don't know if they called him for crawling over him as opposed to stepping to the side. Seemed like a little bit iffy for my taste, but Those are not the DPIs against Jalen Waddle. Sorry. Am I right or am I right?
No, you're right. No, they are not DPIs. They were punts. That's what they were. And that's, it is what it is.
Okay. Dolphins made we're going to close on this one. It's an interesting one. Dolphins made the Bills look like the Saints/Jets today. Bills are not winning a Super Bowl in my lifetime. The Bills are a little bit of a flawed team in that their wide receiver core is very, very marginal. Their defensive line is kind of soft, especially with that Oliver on injured reserve. I look around the AFC, and I think Kansas City's a little bit vulnerable this year, more so than they've been in past years, despite what Nick Wright might say, because he is like this with the Chiefs. When they went on a little run, he's number one power ranking. Nobody's beating them. They're seriously, they're 5-4. And I see other folks having Patrick Mahomes as the MVP, and I'm like, what? Seriously? But so
you gotta stop watching the shouty shows. Don't watch the shouty shows.
Holy moly!
I don't watch them anymore. My life has improved drastically. No more shouty shows, please.
I hear to watch what's being said about the Dolphins, but that's like the Casey Love is. My Lord, simmer down now. My point is that the Chiefs are a little bit vulnerable this year. This would be a great occasion. I don't think it's in terms of where they've been, this is not a great Buffalo edition. And then now they're 2 games behind the New England Patriots in the loss column in the AFC East. So,
and they lost to them at home.
Then they did.
So might be a different AFC East champion this year. How about that?
But it won't be the Miami Dolphins.
It will not be the Miami Dolphins.
However, the Dolphins played like champions on Sunday. How's that?
They did. There we go.
There you go. That's going to wrap it up. He is Dante Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins on SI.com. Check out his fine written work on their website for free. Again, Miami Dolphins on SI.com. As always, thank you folks so much for joining us for this past hour. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, tell your friends, tell your enemies, everybody. And we will be back here on Monday. Good night, everyone.